Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
Everyone's looking for the young guy. They're looking for McVay. I think take a shot out Todd Bowles, get him a second shot at head coach, and see if he can do it.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
It's crazy. And our kids will know how great Tom Brady is because he's going to be playing.
Yes, it is 15.0%. I swear we didn't script that.
All I could think of was Dame.
6-0. There could not be a better name.
Speaking of young guys, how about the goalie, Ottinger?
He was a 6th-round pick. This is a fairy tale story that's being written in front of our eyes.
That's what the Yankees brought Garrett Cole to do.
They didn't struggle against the Padres. The Padres didn't really put up a fight in most of the games.
Jerry Jones, hope you're listening because this is why you shouldn't have given Zeke this contract. Just thought I'd point that out.
I feel like Luka will take that next step, and if he can get a 3 ball consistently around 35%, I feel like they could become a contender.
While with the Padres and Marlins, I think it's coming in the near future.
They're my pick to win the most rings in the 2020s.
I was shocked by Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Montreal has one of the best goalies in the league with Carey Price.
People like to call them their JV team, and they just stole one of their better players.
Hi, I'm Landon Bowe, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week for September 12th. Let's start out with, it's been a little stagnant so far, except the Mavericks signing Frank Ntilikina, and some rumors. And one of those rumors is, does Ben Simmons get traded before the season? What do you think, Austin?
I do not think he does. The 76ers are asking for way too much for his services, and there's no way somebody trades multiple first-round picks and prospects for a guy who can't shoot. They're not going to trade some of their young point guards, young centers to the 76ers when the 76ers are really the ones that have to make the move. Simmons wants out. He's not going to camp. He will not play. The 76ers are paying him money. So the 76ers are the one with all the pressure, and they're asking for way too much. And because of that, I don't think he gets traded.
Yeah, I agree with that. The asking price is too high. I think it will come down, so he will get traded at the very beginning of the season because I think there will be a toxic environment, so the Sixers will want to get rid of him, and maybe a team can swoop in with that. But it's just a really weird situation because Ben Simmons is a great defensive player, but the contract and him not willing to shoot threes, and that doesn't really meet the high asking price that the Sixers are asking for. So now, how long will Goran Dragic remain in Toronto? I'm going to say he gets traded before the start of the season.
Wow. My prediction is before Thanksgiving. I think he'll be traded before Thanksgiving. I think he starts the season, though, with Toronto. And I would be surprised if it goes past Thanksgiving. I think he'll be moved early November, probably. That makes the most sense to me. But I could see it before the season. I don't think it will be, though.
Yeah, I think the Mavs are going to make some moves. I hope it's for Dragic because I think he would give us that veteran leadership, and it would make me very happy as a Mavericks fan to have that. Any other major moves? I guess the Dragic this offseason. I don't see Dame getting traded. I don't really see any more moves happening because I think the Lakers and Nets are out of cap space. Am I correct?
It's really close. I don't see any big moves either taking place unless Simmons or the other is traded. Simmons or Dragic. I could see it possible that maybe Dame gets traded. It's possible, but I don't really see it happening at all. So yeah.
Yeah, there's not really much any more to talk about with what players because a lot of the big moves have already happened. Yeah, there's really nothing much. So now we're going to talk about position. What is the most important position if you can have one all-star or just one of the great players at this position?
My pick for current players has to be small forward. When I think of star players right now in the league making the biggest impact, um, I think it's small forward. We've seen Jimmy Butler lead his team to the finals. We've seen LeBron lead his team to the finals. We've seen many guys really take that next step as small forward. I don't consider Giannis a small forward, but I do see him playing that role sort of. So I would say a small forward. What about you?
That's my pick. I have the small forward as well. Point guard was close, but like point guard, like I was thinking of Luca, but in a traditional sense, he wouldn't be a point guard because he's 6'7". But just now in the NBA, it's crazy. But I still go small forward because when you look at the premier players, Kawhi, you said Jimmy Butler, LeBron, they are listed at small forward and they can impact the game in multiple ways. And especially with the size changes, they kind of stay consistent. And you can put them lower down, as you mentioned. Like sometimes LeBron will be bringing up the ball. So I just think of small forward. Um, I was also thinking center just because a great rim protector is what you need for defense. And um, any other thoughts?
Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be a center to have great rim protection. We've seen KD get a lot of blocks. We've seen Giannis get a lot of blocks. We've seen many guys. Obviously, LeBron had one of his biggest plays of his career was a block at the rim. So, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a center. That's why I chose small forward. Small forward also has, I think, the most diverse group of defensive and offensive skill players. Point guard normally is offensive, same with shooting guard. While when you get to center, they're more defensive. Same with power forward. But small forward, you really get the mix of Kawhi, DeRozan. He can pass the ball really well. He's gotten better on defense. He's still very athletic. But yeah, I feel like a great small forward shows up, and I think the biggest part of this, the small forward can guard any position normally, as long as it's not a prime Dwight Howard or Shaq down there at center, and the point guard's not uh, Curry. I feel like you really can guard any position at the small forward spot. We've seen KD do that. We've seen LeBron do that. We've seen uh, obviously Jimmy Butler do that. So I really think it is the most versatile position on the court.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Of course, I forgot to mention KD at small forward. Um, it's just such a position where you have some great players, and that's really important. And that's where they are. Any more thoughts before we conclude this episode?
Not really. I really hope the Ben Simmons trade happens sooner rather than later so that we can see how this season's going to work out so we can make our predictions because that really will have a major impact on what I choose. And what type of return the 76ers get back definitely influences whether or not they're contender or not. Right now, I see them as no, but if they get a big return for Ben Simmons and can turn that into more players that will be effective for them, I really could see them making a push. But it's going to be interesting to see, especially with the Dragic deal. Do they just waive him? Do they trade him for a second round pick? What do they do? And we'll see if any other major moves happen.
What I don't really see any teams competitively trading for Simmons. I think maybe Raptors or OKC trading for the Ben Simmons. Who do you see?
I could see Boston being a potential site. Obviously, their point guard is Dennis Schroeder, but I don't feel like that's set in stone, especially with the contract they gave him. I think Simmons would be really good for that team, honestly, because of their defense. And while they would lack shooting, the defensive prowess of guys like Jalen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Ben Simmons, all right there, that would really help lock down any guard tandem in the league, in my opinion. Simmons does have the athleticism to guard somebody like Curry, and while you can't really guard Curry, you definitely can slow him down. And I feel like a Marcus Smart and Jalen Brown right next to him could really help, and he'll have the ball a lot more. With the 76ers, they were giving the ball a lot to Joel Embiid, and while Tatum will get the ball, it'll allow Ben Simmons to give Tatum some rest. Tatum really had the ball for the majority of the possession throughout the playoffs and regular season, as Brown was either hurt or not performing to his highest potential, and with Marcus Smart out, they really didn't have another guy. So this will really help Tatum get some rest. And with Simmons, it's a defensive team already. So I think that's probably the best place. But I don't think Boston gives more than just one first round pick and a player. And I don't even know if they give a first round pick. So we'll have to see whether or not Boston really considers themselves to be contenders. Because if they do, they could trade a late first round pick and maybe a growing point guard or center or small forward for Ben Simmons. And I feel like that's the best deal the 76ers could possibly get.
Yeah, I don't. The asking price that the Sixers have right now is way too high. I think it's close to what you said, and then maybe if you're sending to the Thunder or the Raptors, you have to include a pick, which I don't see them doing. Maybe Warriors, but just to like add them, but like still, that's like
Green
a way
and Simmons
far
on the
out.
same team would not work. Draymond Odie is a pass first big who relies on his teammates to produce offense. And while he does shoot a lot more than Simmons, he doesn't really shoot them at a very high clip. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. It was just kind of a far out pick, but it's not really much of a market, so I really have no idea what the Sixers are trying to do with that as including the asking price. It's a weird situation for them, but we'll see what happens as it is a very intriguing issue, and maybe there will be more moves as you really can't say, really can't predict as this has just been a wild offseason. So many rumors, including the rumors about John Wall, as he is trying to be traded, or the Rockets are looking to trade him. I don't see him being traded, but just given his contract and how things have not worked out for Wall and just the front backcourt for the Rockets, I understand why they're doing it, but I don't really see much of a market for John Wall in that sense. Maybe he goes to a rebuilding team and then gets healthy and then they flip him. But I really can't think of anything else. Of course, people on Mavericks Twitter have been talking about John Wall, but I don't really like that in that sense. So it's difficult to see. The only thing I can see with John Wall is you get one more year of him, and then you could trade Porzingis, but I don't really see that happening. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I only see the Rockets trading John Wall if they keep a very large majority of the cap. There's not many teams out there that can take a max contract like John Wall's. That's why they had to trade with the Wizards to get John Wall because Russ also had a max contract, so it somehow worked. Not somehow, it obviously worked because they both had a max contract. But to find another max contract that they're willing to be traded, it's going to be tough. So the Rockets would have to hold on to the majority of that contract and somehow work out a deal to where they're sending or probably receiving a first round pick, especially if they're getting uh, most of that cap to keep. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do trade him. However, if they do, it'd have to be a team that supports the cap situation, and there aren't that many out there that really could. And I would assume that John Wall wants to go to contender, so that even lessens the chance of him getting traded, as not many contenders would want John Wall for that contract.
Yeah, it's very true. And I don't really see that happening before the season. So I think now we can end our episode. Thank you so much for listening, and be on the lookout for our other episodes for our opinions for September 12th this week.